Hey, gang, hope you enjoyed today's show. We got Captain Adam from MacDaddy Charters and Captain Mark from the Naughty Diver. You know Mark, he's been around a long time. But Adam, appreciate you tuning in or coming in this morning so that these guys could tune in and see this week's show. You know, second show of the year third show of the year now. And it's been a good start to the year. Got some new blood in there for you guys and gals. So hopefully you will enjoy this show today. Hey, it's another edition of Catch Your Memory Outdoors right here on WWBC 1510. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday morning to check out what's going on up and down the east coast of Florida and beyond right here on Catch Your Memory Outdoors. And we thank those of you that are listening on the audio feed over the airwaves. You can also get us on 99.9, 94.7, 100.7. And if you want to watch some video of us sit here in the studio and talk and chat and communicate and do all those sorts of things, then you can do that as well on our Facebook feed at catchamemory.outdoors.com. And I'm going to ask everybody a favor. I've got Captain Mark. I'm Captain Jim Ross. For those of you that are new to the show, thank you for tuning in. Captain Mark Gibson is checking us out this morning for I think this is the first time this year, but about the fifth time in the last 24 months. So you've been quite a regular guest on the show, Mark.
Yes, I have. I enjoy coming down here and then, doing what we do. Which is whatever it is. Whatever it is that day. Turn the
mic on and away we go.
We may not even talk about fishing.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
And we've got MacDaddy Charters.
That's right.
Captain Adam Mcintyre.
Yes, sir.
On this morning. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Good
First
to be
time
here.
we've just met this morning, 10 minutes ago before
That's
before going on the air. And Adam, so we're gonna dive right into to you real quickly, so that the listeners, the regular listeners that listen to the show, know me and Mark already. What do they need to know about Adam? What do they need to know about Captain Adam?
I run offshore charters at Ponce Inlet, Florida. 4, 6, 8, and 10-hour trips. Really love taking first timers or newbies.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing them light up and then showing them my world. I really get a kick out of that.
You know, it's interesting, Mark. I love, all of the captains that we have on the show, it seems like everybody really likes to get other people involved in fishing. And that's what kind of drove this whole show to start with, was to help people have more fun in the outdoors. That's what we like to do. We like to share our passions. And so it's interesting that to a man, that we've got guys that are just going, man, I really love to take new guys out. Now, what is a huge success for you at the end of the day when you're looking at your anglers on the boat? What is it? I'm not talking about catches. I'm talking about during the day. What happens that you go, yep, this is exactly what we needed to have happen today?
I love hearing grunting. When that rod bends over, I tell them I never get tired of hearing that. But we like to catch something big and fun that you may not keep. We like to catch enough for dinner, and we like to catch a lot.
Yeah.
And so if we can check all three of those boxes, we're having a great day. And then
definitely.
And again, just watching them light up and just having them talk about how great it is.
The eyes tell a lot. They say it's the window to the soul, right? But they tell a lot. When you see that guy, and like you say, he's grunting, he's trying to enjoy the bend, but some of these bottom fish, in particular, he's grunting. Yeah. And so he's working. But when whatever it is pops up, and Joe, Minnesota, who's usually catching walleye and perch through the ice, and all of a sudden, here up comes this 18-pound red snapper, or this 25-pound gag grouper, or
the Goliath,
the sandbars and the Goliath.
Right.
And he sees that thing and he goes, "Whoa!" This is like sea monsters.
Yeah.
To some of these guys, and the eyes tell it. They're like, "Whoa! I cannot believe that I just wrestled, hand-to-hand combated, this thing up to the surface of the water."
Yeah, that, and when they go, that's the biggest fish I've ever caught.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay,
that's
cool.
always good. Yeah, that's always good.
It's every day for us.
As the kids call it, PBs.
Yeah.
PBs.
Oh, yeah.
Personal best.
Personal
this
best.
Is my PBs, man.
Yep.
I love it.
Well, I tell you what. So, what kind of boat are you running?
I've got an old Grady White,
Uh-huh.
23-foot Gulfstream. So I really try to max out at about 4 people. I'll do 5 if it's a family,
Right.
like mom, dad,
Right.
3 kids.
So
Small people.
Mark and I are the same way. 'Cause,
We're the same
Mark's
way.
running a boat that's about the same size. I'm running a boat that's about the same size. My boat, I just run a bay boat. I don't run a true, center console. But you're right. That 4th person is about really all we want to run on our size boats. And occasionally we'll squeeze a 5th in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got the back of the boat. I got 4 corners, so it's perfect for 4 people.
Yeah.
And then we're not overcrowded with 4. 4 is the magic number. Anything less is a bonus. But,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll squeeze a 5th one in if we have to.
As long
Yep.
as it's a small one.
Yeah, yeah, it better be.
Yeah, you want to get can we see the family photo around Thanksgiving?
You don't need the 5 linebackers on the boat. Do
No,
you?
I had one of those one time. We were shark fishing, and they all ran to one side of the boat. I thought it was over.
Well,
there were
and-
some
and
football players from Oklahoma. I thought it was done.
And because of that story you told me a while back, I'll if they ask for 5 people, I'll say the total weight of all passengers needs to be X or under.
Yeah.
Exactly because
Exactly
of that.
right. I had a group call me probably a couple months ago, or got me offline and then text me and said, what's your max? I said, well, 4 people, 5 counting myself. I said, look, I'm kind of a bigger guy. That's that way. And she goes, well, we're kind of bigger people too. And then they didn't call me back. So I guess because I said, 3 people, 4 people's max. But,
Well, the bottom line is this. You lost the charter, but you most likely gave them a better experience than what they would have had.
absolutely.
Honestly. I mean, when you look at it, our boats at under 25 feet can only handle so much. And when you have a 5th or even a 6th person, or everybody in the boat is large.
Yeah.
You
It's tough.
I mean, you're what, 6'2"?
With my hair standing up.
with your hair standing up.
Yeah.
So we'll call it 6'1.5".
Yeah.
And, with a hat on.
With a hat on, 220-ish.
Yeah. And when you get 4 or 5 guys in a 22, 23, 24
Oh, yeah.
foot boat, that
It's
size,
it's
a lot.
tough.
And so it's better to take that client and just say, look, you really need to call this guy. He has a 32 or a 35 foot boat, and it's going to be a couple of $100 more, but you're going to have a way better experience than
Exactly
what I
right.
would be able to provide you.
And I have no problem doing that. To a fault, I'm transparent with my folks because I want them to get out and have a good time. So I try to be very upfront, let them know what it's going to be like ahead of time.
Yep.
Because I want everybody to
Well,
have
that's the
that.
sign of a good captain right there. He's trying to manage expectations and let you know
100%.
what is going to be going on during the day. And I mean,
We
that's,
cost ourselves money that way sometimes.
Oh,
but,
yeah, we do.
But you keep the reviews up. You keep people, like you said, you want to look at that captain and
At
know
the
that.
end of the day, you want the person getting off your boat saying, I can't wait to go do this again.
Yes.
You don't want the person getting off your boat as a charter captain. You don't want that person getting off the boat going, man, I don't know. I'm not.
Wasn't
feeling-
really, yeah.
It didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
That's not good. Not what we want.
No,
I mean,
no.
we
tells somebody
we
they-
strive to make a great experience for our customers, and that's the bottom line. If it wasn't a great experience, then for whatever reason, we feel like we failed.
Yeah.
And,
And on top of that, you got to make sure the fish bite.
right,
Hello?
right. Paul, I forgot to turn our light on. Can you turn that little floodlight on us for us there? That way, everybody that's watching out there can see that we are
Boom.
not sitting in the dark. It's just a little toggle on the back of that thing.
Ready?
Ready, set, go.
I see the light.
Time for sunburn.
But no, you're right. It's it can be challenging sometimes.
Mhm.
And like you said, that little 22-footer of mine, if I put 4 people, it's 2 in the back, 2 in the front, and then
Well, and
then you got
your
a
22-foot boat is actually a pretty big boat for 22
It is.
feet.
It is, but like you said, it's a lot better when you have smaller children on the boat, or
Yeah. 2 or 3 people. is-
yeah, because then you still gotta bait those hooks in the
Mhm.
front, and you gotta bait them in the back, and you try to keep people out of your area because when I'm offshore, sometimes I like to leave that Suzuki running. Last thing you need is somebody coming up there and putting the
bumping
throttle
the throttle or
down.
something.
Yeah. So it's you got to have your head on a swivel sometimes. But I'm actually going to jump on to the offshore bite a little more this year. I cost myself a lot of money by I say offshore. I mean, I still like to see the beach. You know what I'm saying? But I cost myself a lot of money. You know, a lot of people not coming to Daytona. And if you're coming to Daytona, you're thinking, you know, offshore fishing. Then not people come to Daytona and go, oh, we're going to fish inshore. I don't even think a lot of people even know, you know, we have a decent inshore fishery. So if I don't,
You guys actually have a surprisingly good inshore fishery. You really do.
I'll make it look really different. Come with me.
well, it's I've been there. I mean, it's taken me, you know, when I first started with Jim was like, you know, you may need to transition into that river. It's a lot easier on your joints, your boat, everything. But he didn't tell me that if the, you know, satellite and, you know, Venus and Mars and Jupiter and the aliens weren't all in the same line, that the
and
fish
the wind
weren't going to
blowing.
bite.
They didn't have a tailwind.
I forgot about the tailwind and the tide and the water clarity, and he didn't tell me all that stuff. He's like, oh, the river and the tide moving 7 knots, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then your shrimp that you bought from the bait store is like, you know, a ½ inch long.
And they cost just as much as the big ones.
Yeah, he didn't tell me all this.
Right.
You know, I was used to going out to 9 Mile, dropping down a piece of squid and pulling up a snapper. You know, I did get some insight on some red snapper, and I wanted to see if you guys had heard anything about the openings. Maybe we'll catch that after the break or something. I'll go into
Yeah,
it a
we can
little.
talk about that.
But
a
I
little
did
bit.
hear that they may be opening it up on a 3-month period twice a year. So I didn't know if that's something you guys have heard.
I had not heard that.
No, I haven't either. I know. I mean, let's. Yeah, we can talk about it. We got time to talk about it before the break.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, FWC is putting together all of these scientific fishing trips, if you will, and allowing people to apply for a permit, special permit, so that they are allowed. They're allowed to harvest various numbers depending on the permit that you receive of red snapper out of federal waters. That's the key here, out of federal waters. Because in state waters, red snapper are legal to keep
Year round.
as long as you don't go past 3 miles at any given point of time during the trip. You can keep a 20-plus inch red snapper in state waters.
Well, as long as you're not a charter boat.
As long as you're not a charter boat with
Well,
a federal
as long
permit.
as you're not a charter boat with federal permit.
That is true.
That's why I
As
turned my
long-
permits
That's
in.
true.
Because I wasn't catching any red snapper. I wasn't, even when I had the federal permit, red snapper couldn't be kept, and that was 90% of the snapper I was catching.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really a bottom guy, okay? I mean, we go bottom fishing pretty regularly in the summertime, but I'm not really, let's go catch a gag grouper, a red grouper, a amberjack. I'm not that guy, okay? What I am is, hey, let's go out to 8A or let's go out to Pelican Flats and let's turn a circle and pull some pogies behind the boat. And if the fish are firing really good, we'll cast some lures too, and you can catch them on a spinning rod, you know, with some sinking spoons or something like that. It's much more interactive than just a typical trolling live bait or dead bait trolling charter. We're doing things, okay? If that doesn't work, or if I go over a mark on the bottom that looks good, hey, we're going to drop a pogie, a pilchard, or something down there and see if whatever that is wants to eat. Whatever comes up, comes up. So those are the type of offshore fishing trips that Justin and I provide, is primarily live bait. If we mark something, we'll drop down kind of thing. Or if you specifically want to go for like flounder, I mean, we do a lot of offshore flounder fishing. But in the process, you get a lot of red snapper.
Yeah.
So you just do. That's just what
They're
happens.
there.
They're there. And so for me to have to go out there and fill out
All this paperwork.
all the paperwork that the feds want you to do to not be able to keep a red snapper, I just went, this
Why
is
do I even
silly.
need it?
Why am I spinning my wheels when I can't keep them anyway? This is absolutely ridiculous. So, swinging back around to a potential snapper opening on, or a realistic snapper season on the Atlantic coast, FWC has basically said, okay, feds, we're tired of the debacle that you have the red snapper fishery in. We're done. We're done with you. okay? And so what we're doing now is we're going out on fact-finding missions all around the state, from Key West, from the Panhandle to Key West, all the way up to Jacksonville. And the Gulf side guys are still allowed to have their season, but they have some additional permitting that some of those guys are allowed to go out in the quote-unquote off-season and still do some of this fact-finding. The guys on the East Coast are the ones who are going to benefit from it most because we do not have a season currently. And so if FWC can go out there and say, okay, we had 150, 200 trips, days on the water with professional charter captains and recreational anglers combined, what would be considered the recreational user group. Okay. Even though a charter captain is a commercial vessel running a commercial charter, he still doesn't, on a charter, he doesn't fall under commercial guidelines. He falls under recreational guidelines. Okay. That's a whole nother thing that they really need to clean.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But long story short, you have quote unquote professional captains, professional anglers, and you have Joe Weekend that are all joining in, okay, and being able to go out fish, come back. Here is what we caught. We had this many man hours of work. This is what we caught during those man hours of work. These were the approximate distances offshore that we were catching the fish. And so FWC is compiling a ton of information to then what will eventually happen is they're going to say to the feds, hey, look, we got this. We're good. See ya.
Yeah.
And Florida is going to exclude itself from the federal fisheries management, at least on that particular species.
Management.
Or mismanagement.
Yeah.
I would probably, that would be a better way to refer to what's going on over the past decade. So long story short, FWC is being proactive about trying to open the fishery back up for everybody. And so if they do that, I'll go back and say, okay, well, now this is something that my customers, I use red snapper like I use tarpon. They're a catch and release species. They're a lot of fun. They pull hard. They make a great picture.
They're real pretty
fish. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great picture. And my customers love to catch them. Now, the downside to that is the smile turns upside down a lot of times when they have to put that 12 or 15 pound red snapper back in the water because it's being mismanaged by the feds. So if we could bring one or two home, I'll go and I'll sign back up and I'll get my federal snapper, reef permits again. But at this time, catch and releases, I'm good with that because I can still keep my kingfish. I can still keep my cobia. I can still keep my flounder.
You still got all those.
And everything else I just put back in the water and it's good. And my customers are good with it. So they get a little bit to eat and they get a little bit to just play tag and release with.
I had them roll up on me when I was right there at that 3 mile line and they checked my permit. I didn't have the snapper grouper last year, but he goes, I had some grunts in the boat, in the live well, and that's part of the complex. He goes, well, I said, well, see, I'm still in state waters. He goes, all right, well, as long as you know that if you're in federal waters, that grunt.
You go a quarter mile that way, and I'm writing you a ticket.
I said, okay, well, that's why I stay here.
Why I'm here.
That's why I stay here.
Yeah.
But I went ahead and re-upped them this year, and I filled out that form for the snapper to get the, see, I think they take 5 charter boats for the 3/4. I think they do them by quarters. I think it's coming up where they're going to open up the snapper for those boats you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I know that the Greg Rapp, the owner of Sea Leveler Charters out of Canaveral, has been recipient of one of those permits. And, I mean, they have the 36 permit, and then they have the smaller permit. And he shuffles them from boat to boat as needed. But, I mean, they go out and
they can catch them up.
Well, and here's the thing that Greg has been doing that I really, really like. Okay, he has been documenting every single fish that comes over the gunnel. Okay, and here's what's interesting: if red snapper are being mismanaged as bad as they are, and yet they're still being caught in the numbers they are, here's how badly or how poorly the groupers in the Atlantic are being managed or mismanaged. Okay, Greg is finding, I forgot the exact number, so you can't quote me on this, but it's like 30 to 1. He's catching 30 red snapper to every grouper. And this is consistent in all of these trips that he's gone on. They're catching snapper, 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 and more snapper.
Oh, they're everywhere.
And then they'll get a grouper. And he's fishing in depths that are grouper depths. He's not fishing in super shallow. I mean, he's fishing in depths that are grouper depths. 180, 210, 220, 250. He's out fishing in what would be considered grouper
depths
territory.
Yeah.
But yet he's still so what does that mean? If snapper are closed and you can't keep a snapper because there's not enough of them to keep, and yet you're only catching one grouper for every 30 snapper, what does that say about the grouper fishery?
Well,
so we're mismanaged all around
all
by
the way
the
around.
feds. And so FWC is trying to create some databases where they can say, hey, this is real world data and we're going to take this over and we'll sayonara
hopefully
to the feds.
Hopefully it'll work out.
We're going to take our first break. We're way overdue, and then we've got a caller on the line, so we'll be right back with Captain Mark Gibson, Captain Adam McIntyre, and myself, Captain Jim Ross, and we're going to be right back with more Catch a Memory, so don't go away. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors, trying to catch up with the Facebook feed. A lot of guys out there saying hello on the Facebook feed and good morning. So we appreciate Bo Bergeron, William Stratton. Who else we got on here? Carl Harmoning is on there. Good morning, buddy. I'm surprised he's not out there blasting ducks out of the air. The Real Healing Outdoors is on with us this morning. Thank you so much for jumping in. Roy Young, Marcus Hook, Annie Kipp is watching this morning. Who else we got? Shay Hobby, good morning. I know he's been catching some fish lately. That dude's a fishy dude right there, man. And Jesse Dance, I know Jesse Dance has been knocking some feathers down. I'm telling you, that dude, he's no joke when it comes to shotgun.
Knocking them ducks out there.
No joke, brother.
I see Jeff's been doing he's doing a lot of hunting, right?
Jeff and Blair and Kyle have been out there knocking them down too. And me, not so much, but the rest of the guys.
Well, I mean,
in fact, I don't know, you didn't hear the show the other day, but we went and we hunted Broadmoor, and I infected everybody with, you can't hit nothing today.
You got to catch the ones that are swimming. They're a little easier to hit.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, it's fair game, right?
Let's go to the phone lines and see what Cap Mike Mann's doing this morning. Good morning, buddy.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you today?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. What's going on in Mosquito Lagoon?
Well, if you go fishing, and the way it has been the last 2 weeks, bring every different pair of lenses you have. Bring your low light lenses, the overcast lenses. Bring the bright sunny day lenses, because there's fish moving around. But man, this weather has been a little bit of a yo-yo, as it has been for the last probably 2 months.
So, Mike, I know that you had told me the other morning you were coming off the water early on a scouting trip because you just were about frozen to death. Even yesterday, here's the interesting thing about this week. Even yesterday, when we had calm winds in the morning, warming temperatures throughout the day, 10, 15 degrees warmer than it's been all week, that yesterday should have been the day. I mean, when you look at conditions all week long, and then all of a sudden we got a warming trend, it's sunny. Yesterday should have been the day. And I was aggravated that I wasn't on the water. At about 10:30 in the morning, I'm going, why am I not on the water today? Unfortunately, my charter got norovirus. So that's going around, right? Anyway, he got this norovirus, and he's like, man, I am not going to be able to get there. So it was no big deal. But when it was that nice at 10:30 yesterday morning, I'm going, man, I really want to be out there. And Justin had a 6-hour yesterday, 6-hour trip. So at 12:30, I text him, and I'm like, are you wrecking him? And I'm expecting him to go, dude, you have no clue how good it is, right? Because it was the day, right? Should have been the day. He was like, Dad, he goes, I don't know what's wrong with these fish. He goes, they're looking at me, look at them. He goes, we can't get them to bite. He says, we've caught one fish. I hooked it and then handed the rod off to the customer. Not that he's any better than the customer. He just happened to be lucky enough to get the bite, right? And so here we are. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm a little aggravated because I'm not where I think I should be. And then it was like, well, it wasn't what it was supposed to be, and it wasn't what it could have been. And the bite yesterday was actually pretty darn slow for the most part, because he was out till 4 o'clock. And he said, other than a handful of trout, a couple of sheephead, and a couple of drum, I mean, he said he caught less than 20 fish yesterday. And it should have been an 80.
Yeah.
It should have been an 80 to 100 fish day, is what it should have been. You know?
Yeah, we started at 9 yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and it was beautiful weather. My guys weren't the greatest casters, nor could they see the fish as quickly as they needed to, nor were they as expedient about. But I mean, I dropped down to a shrimp. Because the fish are so.
I'm laughing with you, Mike. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
Trust me, I'm getting done, and I'm like, they don't feed out of their tails. I said, just remember that next time you get out here, they don't feed out of their tails.
Yep.
I dropped down to a shrimp on a naked hook, no split shot, nothing to try and soften that bait landing in the water, because those fish were jumpy yesterday. I think we ended up with 6 reds and 2 trout. And the reds were all running, 18 to 22 inches, but that came off of a deep water area. I had black drums swim back and forth across my bait. I poled the sight fish, and I mean, it was just, they were not feeding yesterday like they should have been.
That's so interesting, Mike. We've been doing this. You and I both have been doing this about 25. Well, I've been doing a little more than 25, but you've been doing it at least 25 years now. And
yeah.
And did you have the same impression going into launching the boat yesterday morning as I had?
Oh, I was excited. I was excited. I'm like, finally, a good day. Everything comes together, and we go to. And I was going out cold because the day before I tried scouting, and the wind was blowing 25. The clouds moved in. I'm like, this is just pointless. So I put the boat back on the trailer and went home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I know where traditionally this time of year after this kind of weather where I find fish, and those fish were there. But my God, I'm pulling it. Man, I'm trying to pull as slowly as I can, and you get almost in casting range, and the school would move off again. And I mean, they were looking at me, looking at them.
Yeah.
It was, and. You get days like that. It was the first nice day, and now we're back to overcast and windy and misty, and it looks like it's going to be cold. I think they just need to settle down. The water when I started was 51 degrees yesterday, warmed up to about 56. And you know me, I like that 58 degrees. So it doesn't look like we're going to get 58 much for the next couple of weeks. But I think once they settle in, they'll eat. But I showed the guys, there were probably 50 snook ranging from, 18 inches up to 33, 35 inches, sitting up in the shallows at a dock. And I grabbed a handful of shrimp because there were mullets swimming around them. I go, guys, here's how they're not eating. I threw a handful of shrimp out there, and they swam around the shrimp and just kept sitting there. The shrimp just swam away from them. Yeah. I go, that shows you that they are not eating.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no eat switch on your console that you can just magically turn on. And, the only fish that ate yesterday seemed to be the ones that were sitting around the campfire. Justin, I texted him back just jokingly, and I said, well, look for the little smoky bubbles, and those fish will eat. They're warm enough, right? And he's like, you texted me back, LLL, like, yeah, right, quit being an old dude,
Yeah.
No more dad jokes.
No more dad jokes, right? But, he said the only fish that ate were the fish that he visibly watched them sit in the sunshine, like underneath the mangroves or in a hole between trees. He said they would come out, they would sit there. And he goes, if you let them sit there long enough, 15, 20 minutes before you cast at them and then threw a shrimp in there, he says those were the only bites that he really got yesterday. He said they just needed the time to warm and get their metabolism kind of picked up. And he said, and even that was, 1 in 10. So it wasn't like it was, hot and just blow. He was not blowing it up yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, I tried deep water, and that's where deeper water is where we actually caught our fish. On the shoreline, the shoreline I like to work this time of year.
Yep.
But, traditionally, that shoreline on a day like yesterday, I would have been able to work it. We'd pick up 40, 50 fish.
Right.
Ranging in different sizes with some really nice ones, and they just, they weren't in there.
Well, the nice thing about that area, Mike, is your variety. You've got, one cast could be an 8 or 9 inch whiting. The next could be an 8-pound black drum. The next could be a 22-inch snook, and the next could be a 16-inch speckled trout, and then maybe a 20-inch flounder on the 5th cast if the bite would have been on.
Yeah, and what we had happening is when we did get the pickup, if you didn't let them swim with it and feed some line to them, when you set the hook, you came back with just the tail still on the hook. That tells me they're kind of grabbing it and just hanging on to it, going, I'm going to wait till I'm warm enough to digest this.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Well, buddy, we are unfortunately pushed up against our break. How does somebody get a hold of Capt Mike, man? Because, here's the benefit to them not eating yesterday. They're not going to eat today. They probably won't eat tomorrow, but Monday they'll probably eat again. So
Yep.
So if somebody wants to go, they need to get a hold of you and jump on the boat Monday, right?
Yeah, I've got all of next week available right now, and then the last 2 weeks I'm booked up mostly, but you can give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You can go right to my website, Fat Fish Guide, pick your day and book it. You can follow me on Instagram, CAPT Mike Man with 2 N's, and on Facebook, Fat Fish Guide, Service Guys. Get out there and catch a memory.
We're going to, buddy. Thanks
See
so
you,
much for the
Mikey.
call and the report, and better luck on this upcoming week.
Sounds good. You too, guys. Be safe. Stay warm.
Take care, bud. Hey, gang, we got to take our next break, but we're going to be right back with a whole lot more Catch a Memory, so don't go away. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Sun State Pest Management. It's that time of the year. It's warm inside and cold outside. The bugs want to come in, and, of course, you don't want bugs in, so you call Sun State Pest Management, and they keep the bugs from getting in with their pest management strategies. We've got a variety of different kinds of products that they use. And whether you've got ants trying to get in there, roaches trying to get in there, centipedes, anything else, they've got something to take care of your pest problem. So give Sun State Pest Management a call, 800-781-7378. That's 800-781-7378. And also wanted to let you guys and gals know, I should have pulled this up earlier, but where is it? So, unfortunately, we had mentioned this the other day. Steve Goff, who is the owner of Sun State Pest Management, unfortunately has passed away. He had an embolism on his aorta, and it burst. And, of course, there's not a whole lot they can do when you get a blowout like that. You're kind of done, unfortunately. So Steve has passed on. But wanted to let you guys and gals know that Steve's celebration of life is going to be held on the 18th at Kiwanis Island. That's 405 South Courtney Parkway. But at the funeral home is at 405 South Courtney Parkway. The celebration of life is going to be at the Kiwanis Island Center, and that is going to be from 1 until 4 on the 18th of this month. So if you guys and gals, anybody that knew Steve, knew that he was a huge proponent of getting kids involved in fishing, just a huge sponsor when it came to the Florida Sport Fishing Association tournament every year. Just a great guy, giving guy, and unfortunately, he's now no longer with us. But you guys and gals can go stop by on the 18th from 1 to 4 there at Kiwanis Island, and pay your respects or do whatever you want to do. And that's Kiwanis Island Park is located at 951 Kiwanis Island Parkway in Merritt Island. So, and instead of sending flowers or anything like that, They were the family said that Steve would like for if you want to give a donation to the Wildlife Conservation Society, and you can donate. I think it's at symbol WCS.org. So, want to let you guys and gals out there know, because a lot of us knew Steve. Some of us didn't, but Steve was one of the good guys. He did a lot of good for the fisheries and the fishermen of this area. So, I want to say sorry to that family and condolences. But like you said, if you need some pest control, their pest control business is still going, and give them a shout there and keep the bugs out of your house. Mark, we were talking about fishing in the river on the break before we came back from the break, and you transitioned from offshore to inshore out of necessity, really. You were finding that you weren't getting the days out there that you needed to get out there to make it as a charter captain. So you were like, okay, well, we're going to start learning the inshore thing. And, you were mentioning that the water right now in Ponce is really dirty. And, Mike Mann's talking about, oh, no, it's clean. We're sight fishing. That's the difference between, that area from the inlet and north in and around the channel, and even in the inlet and south throughout the North Bridge, South Bridge area, and kind of even on down a little bit. But when you get down a little farther, all of a sudden, all those little islands and the grass in amongst the islands and those sorts of things create filtration. And so you get those cleaner water scenarios where you can sight fish. There's two detriments to the types of boats that most guys run. So if you have a flat skiff, you can get in that shallow water. If you have a bay boat, or especially a center console with a T-top on it, most of the time you aren't going to see fish. Even if the conditions are perfect, you're probably not going to see fish, because the fish see the T-top. And so that's one of those catch-22s. It's a great for an offshore, fishery, but it's horrible if you're an inshore guy. And so it's, a lot of guys that have moved down here from other places, they're like, oh, I want to go to Muskegon Lagoon. I want to go to the Indian River. I want to go to the Banana River. I want to go sight fish for these fish. And they're like, I never see anything. Well, it's because they saw you first.
I didn't think about the whole T-top.
Yeah. They saw you first, and they've moved off. I mean, you heard Mike say about how touchy the fish are at certain times, and especially when you get cold water, high pressure, they get super touchy. And so you have to really be stealthy to get in on them. And there's very few ambush points, I would say, that you can use a boat like yours in that type of scenario. That's why a lot of guys inshore don't run a T-top. That way they can sneak up on those fish a little easier.
Well, you think you have to have that T-top. You have to have it to keep the sun off.
Yeah.
Well, heck, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., sun's in your face anyway. T-top doesn't even come into play until 12 o'clock.
Yep.
So, no, I get it.
That's the truth. Hey, well, it looks like we got Captain Billy Pettigrew on the line. Let's go check out what's going on
William.
up in the Ponce Inlet area. Are you on the water this morning, Billy?
No, I'm getting ready to make me some biscuits and gravy.
All right, we'll be there in about an hour and a half. How's that sound?
Billy is quite the Chef Boyardee now. I'm telling you what. Make your mouth water listening to some of the stories.
What's been going on in your world this week, buddy?
Not much. I just heard you guys start talking about the clean water down south and the water up north not being as clean. So just wanted to give a little rundown on we need some good old redneck boys out there throwing some dynamite on some of these sandbars that are blocking the water from going north, because the Corps of Engineers ain't gonna quite do it.
What is going on in the Ponce Inlet area, guys? I mean,
just the mouth of that inlet is so clogged up. I mean, even coming past Disappearing Island, I mean, it is so skinny now. If you're not in a 15 to 20 foot little spot coming out of Disappearing Island going towards the inlet, well, you'll put that thing up on the beach real quick.
How are these big boats getting out? How is the Sea Love crew and those guys that are up the river? How are they getting out?
They'll do it on a high tide, or they'll go around the backside of the channel. That's my understanding. And
Yeah.
like Billy was saying, the water is flowing so much to the south that the cleaner water is not really to the north, and the fish aren't really, from what I've seen last year to this year. And that's what Billy and I were talking about the other day, the way the water is just flowing south. I mean, if you're going to be a lazy fish and ride the wave, well, you're
going south.
You're going south.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we all know that fish are going to take the easiest route possible when they're just traveling. They're not going to take the hard route to go somewhere unless they're chasing food or wanting to eat.
Right, right. Now, Billy,
You know?
I mean, that only applies to so much water, though, because I know that you fish Tomoka, Pellissier, all of that stuff up to the north as well. You have a really good handle on that entire piece of water, basically from Palm Coast all the way down to Ponce. And actually, you might as well throw St. Augustine and Jacksonville into the mixes if you're going to say, where it is that you truly are an expert on those waters. How is the water different in those areas? Is it coming in from somewhere else, or is it just not as turbid?
Well, the further north you go, you've got St. Augustine Inlet, you've got Jacksonville Inlet, and those inlets are pretty much wide open, so when the water comes in, it disperses north and south.
Mm-hmm.
Matanzas is always that questionable inlet because you may or may not be able to get out. Last I heard about Matanzas is it's still trying to close itself off with that sandbar out front. And with Ponce, I would say realistically, I would say almost 90% of the seawater, the fresh seawater that comes in, heads south.
Interesting.
So there's a big gap between Ponce Inlet and the next closest inlet, which is Matanzas.
Right, right.
I was up in Flagler not that long ago, and the water's cleaner up there than it is down here. For me, when I'm fishing the backwaters, like I can go sight cast redfish and snook up in Flagler, where down here I can't. Now that being said, the water is starting to clear up because it's getting colder.
Right, right.
But if it wasn't getting colder, we weren't going to get clear water.
Are you still seeing? So the function of that dirty water a lot is just residential area runoff, if you will.
Yeah.
So Daytona, Port Orange, all of those areas have got a lot of runoff from when we had a couple of hurricanes and rain events and things earlier in the fall. And I know that those things have started to equalize now. Those waters have run off. Are you saying that water's trapped in there?
Well, I mean, it's not getting sucked out. We're not getting that clean ocean water push. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I just started seeing ocean water. Now, when did we have the hurricane? A couple months ago?
September, yeah.
It's just the clean ocean water is just now getting to Dunlawton Boat Ramp.
Interesting. Yeah, that's taken a long time. Yeah, that sandbar must be a huge diverter.
It really is.
Huge diverter.
Yeah. As soon as you come in.
That should have been cleaned, a month ago. That's interesting. Hey, buddy, can you hold through the break?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, we need to get this break out of the way. And if we had smell-o-vision, I was kind of hoping
Right.
to smell some of that biscuit and gravy,
I haven't started cooking yet. I was waiting. Mark wanted me to call in and talk about this a little bit, so I was waiting on that, and then I'm going to get in there and start cooking up.
Elbow deep. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with you, and we'll kind of wrap this up. Okay, buddy? Thanks so much for holding through this break. Guys and gals, we're going to be right back. Captain Adam, Captain Mark, and myself are going to be back with Catch Memories. Don't go away. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. It's time to talk about Engel coolers, and the new Engel UL60 is a high-performance cooler with all the high-tech upgrades that you could ever want in a cooler. Check them out at engelcoolers.com. This thing is half the price and twice as cool as any other cooler that I've seen because they've flattened the floor in them. You know how when in your high performance coolers they're all kind of slanted so that the water drains? Well, this UL60 they figured it out, okay? So the bottom is slanted. No, the bottom is flat but then the grooves in the bottom are slanted. So it's like putting it up on a little grate or something. So all of your drinks and anything else that you want to have standing upright, not fall over, can all sit on a flat, level surface, but yet the drain siping, if you will, in between it allows the water to drain off so that you don't keep water in your ice, makes your ice last even longer. So that's just one of the cool things. That
You
they
got
have.
one in the truck?
I've got one in the garage.
Oh.
I use it a lot, but I haven't got it strapped in the truck. I've still
Well, you
got
ain't
the
gotta
old
strap
one.
it.
I've still got the old one strapped. Well, yeah, you do if you want to keep it, or unfortunately, I don't know at what point they grow up and develop legs, but at some point
Sometimes
your
they do,
coolers
yeah.
will
Yeah.
grow up and develop legs sometimes if they're not chained down. So, I can't imagine how that happens, but somehow it happens. Yeah, it happens. Long story short, check them out at inglecoolers.com, and they've got all kinds of really cool stuff there, as you guys and gals know. But that particular cooler is a brand new one that they've just come out with here recently, and it is pretty darn cool. We're going to go back to the phone lines. Captain Billy Pettigrew is on the line with us, and Billy, you were talking about water and the flow of the water in and around the inlet. There's a real easy solution in my mind, is that we get Army Corps to dredge it, put it in trucks, and then truck it to Cocoa Beach, because Cocoa Beach is constantly in need of fill, and it would be actual sand versus the dirt that they keep taking from the borrow pit over in Cocoa and putting dirt on the beach and wrecking the fishing up and down the beach for all of us that like to try and go fishing. So how do we make that happen?
I think the problem
Well,
is you have right there at Disappearing Island, all that's not considered the ICW. So that's something that the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't really have to even worry with. If you're going to be down the hatch or any of those houses on the water, that's something that you deal with. They just have to keep that back channel all the way open to the Coast Guard station and then come down Dog Beach. So it's on the edge of what they have to work with.
So it's non-navigable water.
If it fills in, it fills
mind.
in. Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Got
Yeah.
it.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with we got rid of a lot of our big offshore boats, where we had the Sea Love and we had critter fleets and stuff like that. Now we're down to one, and it's not, from my understanding, the money's not there to want to do it.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
So
Yeah, when they
that's
had
my
the
understanding.
when they
But,
had the casino boat and stuff, I know they'd actually anchor up sometimes on outgoing, and just blow it out and keep it open with all the other charter boats and stuff. But now that, like you said, you only
They
have
just prop dredge.
you got this Sea Spirit now. I think it's the only big boat. I mean, there's some other charter boats that go through there, and I guess on a high tide.
Yeah.
I mean, I've almost bumped bottom going through there a couple times. You really got to, and it's constantly moving. Yesterday, if I go Sunday, well, I'm going to go a different little area. But if you don't want to be that boat that's sitting on the side
No.
with your name on it.
Hey, Billy, real quick before we let you go, buddy. So the fishing this time of the year, I know you like to fish a lot of the backwaters, but with it being cold, how has the fishing been this past week? I know it's been really tough for a lot of us that are down here in the Space Coast proper, Indian Banana River area. We've kind of been struggling, and it sounded like Mike Mann, who just called in a minute ago, was on sort of the northern end of the open part of the Mosquito Lagoon, southern end of the islands there around the Oak Hill stretch, and it sounded like he was having kind of some tough times. Are you finding any fish that are wanting to cooperate?
Yeah, and that's the one good thing about the dirty water. It warms up faster when the sun hits it.
Mm-hmm.
So they want it. They tend, what you guys are saying, their digestive starts warming up, and they're like, okay, we can eat. I'm not having stellar days where, you go down there and catching 20, 30 redfish, but, you can pick off a dozen redfish semi-sight casting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're just now starting to school up north. which I never understood why in the lagoon they're schooled up. I don't want to say year round, but pretty much year round. Even up towards Jacksonville, they're schooled up. But man, that stretch from Port Orange to Flagler, they don't school up until it gets cold.
Interesting. Well,
So,
a little bit different behavior in there, huh?
yeah. And, it's probably the tannic water. They seem to want to spread out a bit more, I guess. But I honestly couldn't tell you the truth why they do it, because I go to the West Coast and I find schools of redfish all year long.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's hard to say. Well, buddy, we are pushed up against our break. How does somebody get a hold of you if they want to get out there and do a little fishing with you?
well, they can give me a call at 386-316-0136 or reach me on my website at redfishtails, that's TAILS.com.
Redfishtails.com. Captain Billy Pettigrew, one of the best up there. Appreciate you calling in this morning and chatting with us, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to get on that biscuits and gravy now.
All right. We'll be there in a little bit.
See you, Billy.
All right.
See ya. Hey, gang, we're going to take our top of the hour break. Let's get this out of the way. When we come back, we got a whole nother hour of Catch Your Memory, so don't go away. Welcome back. Second hour of Catch Your Memory going on right now. We appreciate you tuning in. I'm Captain Jim Ross. If you're just tuning into the show, welcome. If you've been here with us for the previous hour, grab another cup of coffee. We're going to be talking a whole lot of stuff here coming up with the offshore game, because we got Captain Adam Mcintyre from MacDaddy Charters in the studio.
Right.
And while Mark has taken some time off of the microphone,
He thought we were done.
You and I will get a chance to talk about it. So you know what? It's wintertime. It's hard to get out. Today the conditions are just stupid. I think it was 6 foot at 6 seconds or some ridiculous number like that. But just like the inshore game, when the weather breaks and you get the opportunity, you're going out there after, for the most part, fish that haven't eaten a whole lot. So they tend to be hungrier, and they haven't been molested. Nobody's been out there picking at them.
Exactly.
So they're a lot less, they're more user-friendly, to use a today term. They're user-friendly. So, this time of the year, what's the game plan? What does MacDaddy Charters, you're pulling away from the dock, what's the game plan?
Well, I loved going after lanes.
Okay.
And this time of year, I like to target the big lanes because it's a snapper you can keep.
Yeah.
And it's a snapper that's pretty abundant. And I've had pretty good luck finding them all year. Some of the guys, I'll come back to the dock in the middle of the summer, and they're like, where are you finding lanes? It's just what I go after.
Right there in that ocean.
Right there. Yeah.
That's where I found them. Right
One
there in
little
that
top
ocean.
secret spot.
Yeah. Our last trip was Sunday, and it kind of started out like a washing machine in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of calmed down as the morning went on, and we could only get out 6 or 7 miles to start before it calmed down. But I guess that cold weather just pushed them red snapper up so close. We could not. I think we caught 4 small lanes, and that was it. I was going out thinking we were going to catch high teens, low 20s.
Yeah.
And
Get a 3-4 man limit.
Yeah, I moved. I made 6, 7, 8 different moves. We could not get out of the red snapper. It was unreal. You say unreal, but
But they're unicorns.
Oh, yeah.
They're unicorns.
Endangered.
Just that one.
Red snappers are unicorns.
Yeah.
They're just,
It's like that shark.
That one shark?
That one shark.
The one that eats everybody's fish?
I
Yeah.
took a picture of him the other day.
Same one.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
one.
It
Same
just
guy.
goes from boat to boat.
Boat to boat.
So-
He's fat.
So, are you preferring natural structure, or are you preferring man-made structure? And does the time of the year change for you?
Yeah, so there's a natural reef I like to hit in early spring.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time after that, I'm doing the artificials, but when you fish there for so long, you kind of tool around and you find your different spots within that area that's not the exact published number.
So there may be a little piece that crumbled and fell off, or wave action pushed it over to the side.
Yep.
And it's those little morsels off to the side that often aren't hit as much.
Right.
They do hold some nice
Because
fish.
everybody's going to the public number
Yeah.
and beating it
Right
up.
in the middle.
Yeah, sitting right on top of it. And I, at least last year, had another natural reef that gave me lanes all summer long. It's just awesome. And then, of course, with that bottom fishing from one year to the next is does not mean it's going to be the same.
No.
The fish move.
You know, it's funny to me because there's a couple of the wrecks that I fish that have been very good at times for flounder, cobia, and then you'll, like you say, you'll get years. Like this past year, my flounder bite was way off, and the place was covered in red snapper.
Last couple years,
And I don't know if the red snapper pushed those other fish away, or if they just happened to be a different condition that the red snapper preferred and the flounder didn't prefer. But what's funny is you mentioned little pieces, little nuggets. So you go to the main wreck and you catch whatever you catch off the main. Let's say you're catching red snapper off the main wreck, and then you slide off to that little piece off to the side, and there's your lane, or there's your mangroves, or there's that one cobia who's just kind of out there. And then, you know, as you're drifting around and I use my side scan all the time. Anything, if I'm in 90 feet of water or less, my side scan is on, because I find so much stuff that I never even knew was there with that side scan. And I'll go, oh, what was that? Let's go over and take a look at that. And so you get over the top of it, and then you get a better perspective of what that piece of structure is. And by doing that, I mean, you're learning. You're constantly learning. You're finding a new place. And that's part of the allure to me to being a charter captain, is being on the water as much as I am. I get to find new places. And not that they're super top secret spots, but they're just a spot. They're a spot next to a spot that doesn't get hit as much, is really all they are, you know. And that fish on that spot tends to be a more cooperative fish.
Yeah.
So going back to that artificial versus live bait. Now, it sounds like you fish very similar to me and Mark, less than 100 feet of water most days.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So in the Ponce Inlet area, you know, that 70 to 90 foot area off of Ponce has so much natural bottom and so many artificials. The Volusia County, the fishing club up there, has done an incredible job of enhancing the natural structures on the bottom with artificial.
It's crazy how many artificials we got.
And our guys down here, the Florida Sport Fishing Association and the Central Florida Saltwater Anglers, used to be the Central Florida Offshore Anglers, but they've changed their name to Central Florida Saltwater Anglers. These two groups are working and doing a lot of that type of artificial enhancement now.
Have they started it?
So, a lot of it they have. Our problem here, we have tons of potential structure to put out there that DOT wants to donate, or a local municipality wants to donate. They take the culvert pipes out and put these retrofit, baffle boxes and things in. Well, all those old culvert pipes are perfectly suitable to be an offshore piece of structure. But the fishing club is trying to find places to store it, and they haven't been able to, really
takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, they haven't been able to find places to store it until they can get the permit approved to then go apply it out in the ocean. And so a lot of it just it goes to the landfill or wherever it goes. And we're looking at all of this potential structure that could be put out there, but because they have no place to keep it, they can't.
Well, I'm wondering why.
And so it's a catch-22. It's okay. We've got the permit, but we don't have any product because we had nowhere to store the product. Or hey, here's the product, but we don't have the permit yet. If we can get the two together, we could be doing some serious enhancement to our fisheries off of here. And so it'd be really nice, if somebody had 10 acres, you got a 10-acre parcel sitting somewhere that's just not doing anything, where you could, say to the club, and you're an angler, so it's going to benefit you. Hey, say to these two sport fishing clubs, hey, come have that product delivered here, and then whenever you get everything permitted and we can go apply it, we'll pack it all up, we'll go put it on a barge, and we'll go shove it out in the ocean. But that's been our problem, is just finding areas to hold that material.
And you need to keep it close to the water
If possible.
somewhat.
If
I think we
possible.
store ours over at Swoop Boat Ramp, if I'm not mistaken, because right there at the boat ramp, then they pull the barges in there or
Load it right up.
and load it right up.
Well, they've tried to talk with the Port Authority, the port commissioners, and say, hey, there's a lot of vacant land here that we could potentially utilize. Can we just have a little piece of this? And nope, can't have it.
So they can bring some,
We-
cruise ships in 24/7.
Oh yeah, we
and
might have to
slam
put,
everything
we
around
might have
there.
to put
but
another cruise terminal.
Let's
in
don't
there
put a
'cause-
half acre there for some concrete
Right.
culverts.
Right.
They need
So-
to get on the ball with whoever did the Daytona, Volusia County. I mean, those guys seem to, when they've got some culverts, I mean, it's out.
Pretty quick.
There's not,
Yeah.
I mean, they hire the divers to come out and survey a piece of bottom.
Yep.
And then once they, survey that
Well, as an
mile
example,
area,
right now, the 2.5 mile reef off of Cocoa Beach has been permitted, but for the most part, everything is ready to go, but yet we're still in this holding pattern and kind of under. I'm kind of going. When you guys think about it, if you had a reef at 2.5 miles and 45 to 50 feet of water, that has.
I wouldn't tell nobody where I was putting the culvert.
That is, well, it's let's just say it's a half mile by mile long box or rectangle. Can you imagine the amount of product that you could build in there, and the amount of reef that you could build, and the fish holding habitat?
Maybe bring those flounder in pretty thick too.
Mangrove snapper, sheephead, black drum, cobia, king mackerel. I mean, just on
Red
and
snapper.
on and on and on. Potentially red snapper. But the problem is there's a whole disconnect between actually being able to have the product stored somewhere and getting it into the water. There's a disconnect there. And so, I know that the clubs have reached out multiple times to multiple places to say, hey, is there, can we just borrow this little piece of land that you're not using? And they've just kind of run into a wall. So if any of the listeners out there have the ability, you've got a piece of property that somebody can put some product on, man, it would open
up Cocoa Beach. I mean, like you said, we have hundreds and hundreds of culvert sites.
Yeah.
I can't remember the number right off the top of my head when I was involved in it in the 90s, but I mean, there's 500 or 600 culvert sites and shipwrecks. I mean, all over Daytona. So
yeah. I mean, if you can imagine a half mile wide by 1 mile long patch reef, that's basically what you could build. And I mean, you could even, if you lined it up right, you could even set it up so that you could troll it for grouper with diving plugs.
Oh yeah.
And potentially even do stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot that could be done, but unfortunately, we're missing the mark. And it would be really nice if we
Something's
could,
not clicking where
if
it
we
needs
could
to.
find a place to store the product, that would solve everything.
Maybe that's the caller right there.
Well, let's
Right?
hope-
Could be. I mean, if they pay me,
Yeah.
somebody wants to.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch Your Memory after these messages, so don't go away. Appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. 8:15 means it's time for you to get your insurance rate check. Call Petrucci Insurance. Make sure you're not paying too much. Give them a call, 321-632-1200. Have them do a rate quote today. My truck and my house are both coming up next month.
It.
Yep. So
I talked to him yesterday.
I'm getting a double whammy in the month of February. But you know what? You call Petrucci. They do all of this legwork for you, and they give you the best possible price on the best possible product. Make sure you're not overcovered. Make sure you're not undercovered, because you can get to be both of those very easily if you don't pay attention to what your insurance company is doing you. And I can tell you this, if you've been with your insurance company 4 or 5 years, you can find a better deal, because your insurance company has raised your rates to the point that you're probably going to be, I'm 90% sure you're going to get a better deal if you call Petrucci than what you currently have. So let them do the legwork for you. That's what they do every day. 321-632-1200, and stop paying too much for insurance, because nobody, and I know you're just like me, nobody likes paying for insurance. So why pay more dollars than you have to if you don't have to? Give them a call. We're going to the phone lines. Jeff Kranick's on the line, the coastal sportsman in the house today. What's up, buddy?
Sitting out here in the marsh, waiting on some birds.
How's the marsh treating you this morning?
Well, that front was supposed to blow through between midnight and 7, and we were supposed to get gusts up to like 35, but it's running a little late.
It's just coming in now, yeah.
It looks like Gainesville's getting hit pretty hard, so remind everybody, wear your life preservers. They will save your life. They don't do any good underneath the deck of your boat.
You know what, Jeff? That's a great tip. When we're going offshore and it's rough, we think about it. But you don't think about it when you're just running up and down the St. Johns River or out in Lake Washington or, Lake Poinsett or Lake Harney. You don't really think about it when you're in an enclosed body of water like that. But, as cold as that water is, and if you've got heavy clothing on, you can go down pretty quick this time of the year. You really can.
Especially wearing waders, and you've never jumped in a pool with them to see how they're going to float you. Because they will float your feet up if you let them.
Yeah, they will. Head down, feet up, and that's not the way you want to float.
No.
Not the way you want to float.
I get a lot of grief. I'm a pretty good proponent. I reminded people last night with this weather coming. I actually turned down going with Peppy because I didn't want to deal with the big open water once it started blowing.
Right.
So we're just out here in a little pothole. Got a couple of birds down. It's a nice morning. I was busy with clients all week, and we got the birds they wanted. So it was a good week.
That's cool. And the other nice thing about the weather being cold as it has been is you haven't had to deal with the lizards.
Yeah, we shot Goodwin one time this year, and we lost 5 birds, and then...
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we lost the whole limit of birds, and they shut down again, and we'll see what happens. If they're teetering, the temperature of the water's teetering right on when they will eat and if they won't eat.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop them from grabbing the duck or whatever you got out in the water. They will stuff it in their meat locker underneath the water somewhere and let it rot out real good before they eat it. They actually prefer it that way.
Yeah. Well, so you got a couple of birds down in the spread. What are you seeing fly this morning?
Seen a little bit of everything. Saw a single pintail. We got burned by some teal. They're coming in behind us. Burned by some ringers. Got a couple tree ducks down. So it's a decent morning. Talked to some other guys. I talked to Peppy. He said the birds just disappeared as they were running through them this morning, not coming back. And we're hoping this last front or this front coming today brings some new birds down because they are getting a little stale.
Yeah, they
want nothing to do with anything higher than about 2 foot off the water.
Gotcha. They're just staying on those open sections of the marsh, huh?
Yep. There's a group of kids. Looks like they're hunting out of inner tubes to the west of us. They've gotten a little bit of shooting in today.
Oh, good for them.
And other than that, it's just it was a good week. Like I said, it was a good week.
Oh,
we
there's a shot.
Did a little fishing, a little crappie fishing, did some duck hunting.
How was your crappie bite?
It was pretty decent.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I saw some birds coming in. My apologies. No, it was nice. We did a duck hunt, and then we spent a couple hours in the same area fishing for specks. So
that's always fun.
Yeah, tried to get Blair out here this morning, but he was afraid of the rain that he might melt because he's so sweet.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Well,
we are going after the divers tomorrow.
Gonna go chase them in the saltwater tomorrow, huh?
We are.
Those doggone clam eaters. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, they're pretty much strung out now from Titusville to Wabasso. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen any big rafts of them lately. I was just telling Adam and Mark that I have in the studio here that we were seeing ducks actually on the flats feeding, tipping up. It kind of reminded me of a school of black drum tailing. And, you were saying that you believe that they were feeding on those juvenile clams that have come as a result of the clams that have been placed in the lagoon spawning and then creating new clam beds, with these veligers, these juveniles turning into clams. And it was interesting watching them come down the flat and feed, because at the rate they were feeding, it seemed like there was a pretty good number of clams. And that was up in the Titusville area that I saw this occurring, which of all places, as many brown trout as they try and float in the water up there. The city of Titusville tries to, I think that's their restocking program.
In.
Yeah, they have a brown trout restocking program up there. It happens every so often. It was surprising to see those ducks feeding in that fashion, and it was nice to see them, because it means that even though the restocking program has been way too prolific by the city of Titusville, the effects of people that are trying to help the lagoon are overcoming the effects of the people that are trying to hurt the lagoon.
Well, I broke open bluebills, the craws of the bluebills last year in 3 different locations, and all of them had clams in them. And
that's good.
I thanked Blair for every one of those that we did. But
yeah, that's good. Well, buddy,
I will say though, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, real quick, put out an alert about the avian flu again. For you guys that are hunting the saltwater, dealing with the bluebills, they're recommending that you clean them with gloves on.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Just as a safety measure. They didn't say not hunt them or eat them. They just said clean them with with rubber gloves.
Gotcha. And then cook them thoroughly.
Yep.
Well, buddy, we appreciate the call this morning. We'll let you get back to blasting those feathers.
Man. Well, we've got a hunt coming up here in the next week or two.
Yeah, the 22nd, we'll be out there chasing some stuff around.
We'll be up in the Shilohs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I can get some redemption.
Yeah, you really spread some bad luck on that last hunt.
I was infecting everybody with it. It was bad. It was like COVID and norovirus put together. It was bad.
Okay, guys, you have a safe weekend, and we'll talk at you later.
See you, buddy. Bye now. Yeah, I got out there and I couldn't hit the side of an elephant, and then I infected everybody else, and it got so comical. We just sat there and laughed at one another about just burning shells and not dropping anything. And the ones we did hit, I don't know, they must have been wearing Kevlar or something, because you'd clearly see feathers come off of them. Boom, and there's a poof of feathers, and they keep right on flying. And it was like, what the heck is going on,
So where you got the big iguanas down there where Jeff's at? Then they're just stealing the birds?
Oh, yeah.
Where's he hunting at?
Well, we were hunting Broadmoor, and it was warm. It was only about maybe 59, 60 in the morning, and then it was foggy. It warmed up to maybe 65 or so. But the water temperature had been fairly warm, so the water temperature was up. And the lizards were everywhere. And, I mean, as soon as you drop a duck, there you'd see an alligator swimming over to pick it up.
Good grief.
And it was like you said, we lost a bunch of ducks on that hunt because of the alligators.
Oh, alligators. I'm not a big alligator fan.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. Well, guys and gals, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. And when we come back, we're going to have a caller on the line. So don't go away. Catch Your Memories coming right back after these messages. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. It is the Starbright Cleaning Solutions segment of the show. And just want to let you guys and gals know, cleaning doesn't necessarily mean the outside of your vehicle or your vessel. Cleaning often means the inside as well. So today's featured product is one we all know and love. It's StarTron. You put it in your gas or your diesel. They've got a diesel version. They've got a gas version. Run it in there, and then you don't have to take your vehicle in and get it decarbonized if you take it to a service center, whether it's your car, your truck, whatever it happens to be. they want to do a fuel system maintenance for you for the tune of $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $900, whatever it happens to be, depending on your vehicle. You start running StarTron through it, and your system is going to be as clean as the day it came off the showroom floor. StarTron takes care of all those deposits, and it tunes your fuel so that your fuel actually burns better. So there's no downside to using StarTron. You can't use too much. Pour it in and let that engine eat. So StarTron, that's the way to go. Whether you're putting it in an outboard or whether you're putting it in your car or your truck, let her rip.
For getting that water out, I'll slap it in mine.
Yep, let her rip.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of let her rip, let's go to the phone lines. We got Paul Berube calling in this morning. What's up, buddy?
All right, good morning. Good morning. Just wanted to check in and chit-chat about the Daytona Boat Show this week. But I did want to mention real quick on that StarTron. We get quite a few engines in there, outboards, with a loss of compression. And if people would just put in the fuel additive like StarTron or equivalent, it will not only keep the engine, cleaned and prevent loss of compression, but then you get better performance, better fuel economy. Anyway, just mentioning, since we run a outboard service shop, we see quite a few engines that need a cleaning that would be prevented by the fuel additive.
And they can pull right into Boaters Exchange and buy as many bottles of StarTron as they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we recommend it on everyone that buys a boat or a motor from us.
Yeah, and you've got two locations. There's a lot of people that don't realize you've had the original Rockledge location, but you've got a New Smyrna location as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had New Smyrna for about 6 years, maybe 7, and we've got Abe, senior technician up there named Abe, and he's just great. Good with people, good with the wrench. People love that shop because it's convenient. If they buy a boat from us and they happen to live in Volusia, they can get great service up there.
Exactly. Well, Paul, you know what? You guys have got turn 1 at the Daytona International Speedway loaded down with Boaters Exchange vessels that people need to come and take a look at.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's the first show weekend of the year. There's quite a few boat shows going on right now. I think there's 4 in Florida. Then we got Atlanta going on. They've got some others up north. So it's actually, the big coming out party of the season. And the manufacturers have responded with promotions that where there's factory rebates. The engine manufacturers announced a promo where you either get free extended warranty or a rebate. So a lot of reasons to buy. Another great reason to buy right now is the selection is at the peak this time of year. And so potential boat buyers kind of have the pick of the litter.
That's always nice when you can get exactly what you want, not almost what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Whether it be color or the model, in some cases there's leftover models where there's money to be saved. So there's a lot going on right now. It's pretty good.
So you guys are going to be showcasing the Avid boats, the Nautic Star boats, the Hughes, Maverick, and Pathfinder boats, Cobia boats, Everglades boats, Yamaha boats. That's 7. Did I miss any?
Yeah, we've also got, Bennington pontoons.
Oh,
and then
totally forgot about that.
Yep. And then in New Smyrna, we've got Key West. So for those that are in the southern Volusia area, they can pick up a Key West up there, which is a really nice brand.
Yeah, they have come a long way over the years, that's for sure. Hey, speaking of coming a long way, I hear a little birdie said that Nautic Star is coming out with a brand new offering this year in 2025 with their 244 bay boat.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Yeah, I think they're reintroducing that model. We've we've got a few Nautic Stars in stock, just the one bay boat that we've got, which is a 22. But really a lot of the builders are, have freshened up their lineup. And so anytime they do that, it gives, people a reason to come out and take a look and see if the boat might be a good fit for them. Even Bennington refreshed their whole lineup. It's a brand new look and feel. They're all just really have everyone stepped up their game just to try to, either A, be more competitive or offer some of the new features in engine power. Yamaha's got integrated steering now on 150 and above. So any Yamaha outboard now 150 and above comes with built-in steering. And so that unleashes some features like, digital electric steering, joystick, things like that. So, and then there's new horsepowers. The new Yamaha 350 has been a huge hit. We've done a few repowers on that platform. There's the Yamaha 450, and they've got more coming. So it's going to be interesting. We had a big crew of Japanese that were here about a month ago doing a little recon from Japan, and basically they've got a new platform coming out. I'm assuming it's going to be announced here in Miami. We'll see.
At the Miami show, yeah.
Probably. Yeah, they were pretty tight-lipped on it, but it will be a bigger horsepower platform. So lots of stuff going on in our industry. And then, as I said, right now is a great time to buy because there are just so many, so many promotions happening. And then, of course, with Boaters Exchange, we were one of 60 dealers in the nation to be named the best-in-class dealer with Yamaha. So it's a pretty prestigious sort of accolade. And although we're not perfect, we really try hard to be very good on service, whether or not you bought a boat from us.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, because there are dealerships out there that if you didn't buy the boat from them, they won't service your outboard. They're like, nope, sorry, you didn't buy it from us. We have no use of you. And the nice thing about Boaters Exchange is anybody that's moved here from somewhere else, bought a boat from a different dealership somewhere else, you guys, you're non-discriminatory. You take care of everybody and try and get them out the door as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And that's what's great about your service department over there. Well, buddy, we are
right. The only caveat to that is if it's an engine that we service.
We are looking forward.
Mercury.
We are looking forward to getting you out on that boat on those boat platforms that you have up there today. If somebody is looking to come up there and check out a boat from basically 15 to 35 feet, how do they come and find you at the Daytona International Speedway today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just gonna come to the Speedway. They've got I think it's like $5 a car for parking. I'm actually on the show committee, and we try to keep that show very affordable.
Yeah.
So it's nominal entrance fee, and they're just going to come out to International Drive. We're there from 10 to 6, I believe it is, today and tomorrow. And there's I don't know, probably 14 dealers there. I think over 60 boat brands and a lot of boats. It's the biggest Daytona show that we've had that I can remember. So a lot of selection.
That's
and it's
awesome.
used. We've got people that have traded their boats in, or others that have consigned with us that are looking to, upgrade or move on to a different pastime. Typically, it's just someone that's looking to upgrade to a different boat. So there's some used ones out there at boatersexchange.com.
Awesome. Well, buddy, thanks so much for the call this morning, and you guys have a great show today and tomorrow out there at the Daytona
Absolutely.
Speedway.
We'll look forward to, hey, if somebody mentions they heard us on the show, just come and ask for Paul at the boat show. We'll see if we can get them a little gift item.
Hey, that's cool. Little bonus from
All
Boaters
right.
Exchange. You got to like that.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy.
Just mention the show. Take
care, Paul. That was cool. Yeah, that's this time of the year, if you're looking to buy a boat, this is actually a really good time of the year because the incentives, not just the interest rate, but the incentives with the additional warranties and things like that a lot of the manufacturers put out there, it's a good time to buy. If you're looking, this is a great show to purchase at. Hey, you know what, guys? Let's check the catch conditions real quick and see what's going on offshore and inshore. Small craft advisory today. West winds at 20 knots, going to 15 to 20 by tonight. Seas inside of 20 miles are supposed to be 4 to 6 feet with a dominant period of around 5 to 6 seconds. So obviously, you're probably not going to be out on the water. 63 degrees and 4 foot at 6 seconds at the 13-mile Ponce buoy. 62 degrees and 4 feet at 5 seconds at the 4-mile buoy out of Canaveral, and the 20-mile buoy out of Canaveral, 72 degrees, 6 foot at 6 seconds. 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce, 64 degrees and 3 feet at 13 seconds. It was reading the swell for some reason today and not the chop. I'm not sure exactly why. Gulfstream, 42 nautical miles out of Ponce, 34 out of Canaveral, 29 out of Sebastian. And the surf temps, 63 degrees at Ponce Inlet, Mark.
It should be.
63,
my weak fish should be
I
on
would say
fire.
63 weak fish and sheephead degrees going on up at Ponce Inlet.
You know, the sheephead are there. It's just we haven't really had a lot of good days to get to the
It's
inlet.
been tough. It's been tough.
You know, and then, you know, if
well, we got 61 down at Cocoa Beach, which means that the pompano are probably all inside of Port Canaveral's turning basins right now. So if you're looking for them, you can probably fish inside, and you don't even need to go outside. And then Sebastian Inlet, 66. And they were actually having a couple of flounder show up down there here over the past 2 weeks. I'm not saying there was a bunch of them. I'm just saying there was enough to make it worth the effort.
yeah,
So, you know, the temperatures are right for certain species. Don't go out there looking for snook right now. Don't go out there looking for tailing redfish. They're not really doing that. But there's, you know, the sheephead, the pompano, the whiting, the flounder, in those certain areas. Those are the fish that you want to target right now. Canaveral, we got a low tide coming up at 11:53 and a high at 5:56 p.m. Sebastian is 11:42 a.m. for the low and 5:43 p.m. for the high. And the best times to get out and hunt and fish, presented by All About Archery down in Melbourne, down on Aurora Road in Melbourne, is at 9:22 a.m. to 11:22 a.m. and then 4:45 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. So hopefully you guys can take advantage of that mid-morning and later in the afternoon time frame. And once again, that's presented by All About Archery. This segment of the show is brought to you by Graphics Direct. Stop in at Graphics Direct if you need any kind of business cards, rack cards, or a boat wrap, truck wrap, anything like that. You need it wrapped, give them a call over there at Direct Graphics there in Cocoa, 321-631-1001. That's 631-1001. We're going to take our last break of the day. When we come back, Captain Adam, Captain Mark, and myself are going to be right back after these messages. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Strike Zone down in Melbourne. You know what? Do exactly what I'm going to do. It's a windy, blustery day out there. Grab your Strike Zone gift card and head on down to Strike Zone. You get to spend that gift card there at
one in there?
the one you had in your stocking for Christmas time, because they were selling a lot of gift cards, and today's a good day to go down there and redeem them. You know, Adam, we were talking. You used to fish the Mosquito Lagoon way back in the day.
Yep.
You know, early 2000s. And so I was like, well, that doesn't even count. You know, that's
planet now.
so ancient history that the waterway is nothing like it was back then. But here's the thing. So you can obviously remember fishing in the early 2000s. You can remember 300, 400, 500 redfish in a school. You can remember mornings poling down the flat, drifting down the flat, trout popping, just knocking shrimp out of the water, redfish chasing, redfish tailing, all of those things that used to happen. Well, with the grass starting to come back, it's not 400 fish in a school doing that, but there's 14 or 15 or 20 fish in a school starting to do that.
Nice.
So it's not nearly what it once was, but it's a whole lot better than it has been when there was no fish.
Yeah.
Tailing in the Mosquito.
Yeah, it was magic, man. And just, I don't know, just sneaking up on a redfish and knowing that he's there and knowing that he doesn't know you're there. That's the ticket, man. And you just throw that bait perfectly and you just feel that little thump in the line. And then take your boat in a circle, or he takes your boat in a circle. Those are good days. I love that.
What did you used to fish out of back then?
So I had a buddy who had a little 14-foot Boston whaler.
Uh-huh.
I also fished out of my 17-foot cobia. I didn't have a poling platform, just had a trolling motor. And I had this one house in Oak Hill that had a little flat, and I would get that trolling motor to where it was just, the blade was going like this, so I could be so quiet. And the tails popping up everywhere. Yeah, and fishing the clinkers. But I had a college professor that kind of introduced me to them.
Really?
Yeah, and before that, I was just a freshwater guy.
Right.
And I thought freshwater was where it was at. And then he showed me inshore saltwater. And I was like, whoa, you can catch these redfish are way bigger than bass. I'm like, all right.
And then you get a hold of about a 4-pound Jack Crevalle on a topwater, like a Rapala skitter walk or something. Holy
This
cow,
game on,
bro.
yeah.
That's game on. Yeah.
Yeah, and also had a buddy with a, again, this is 20 years ago, but he had a brand new Ranger Phantom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that thing was sleek. A 16-footer with a 60 horse on it. We could go anywhere. That was a nice boat.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice getting back in those little hidey holes, getting away from the outside channels and stuff. Although sometimes those outside channels are where all the big fish are, So if you're looking for that 40-incher, you want to be on the edge of that, that 1 foot to 4 foot drop off,
Right.
False Channel bar, J bar, East West bar, George's bar, Tournament bar, Cucumber bar, Whale Tail, Tiger Shoal. I mean, all of those places have those kind of drop offs where it goes from shallow to deep, and those bigger fish like to lay on those edges.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Poling down. Here's the coolest thing. You're poling down a flat, okay? And you haven't seen the fish disturb the surface of the water. But the sun angle's just right, and all of a sudden you catch that glimpse. That shine, that gold shine off of their side, and then another one kind of gets, you catch him in the light just right. And then when you realize what you're actually looking at, and you're sitting there looking at 12 or 15 or 20 fish that are all just grouped together, and they're all just barely creeping along, that's, that is such a neat thing, because that buck fever sets in.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and then you're like, okay, just breathe. Don't blow this,
Yeah.
Don't blow the cast.
Yeah, and it can take a while for your eyes to adjust. Like we had a caller early on talking about his clients couldn't see the fish.
Right.
And it's like once your eyes pick up on it and figure it out, then you start seeing it everywhere.
One of the things that was a game changer for me was when Costa Del Mar came out with they had their 400 lens, okay, and that was sort of the status quo. They had a good lens. Then they came out with their 580 lens, and that 580 lens allowed more blues, part of the blue spectrum, to come through to your eye. And that was, for me, I about lost my mind the first week or two that I wore that lens, because the blue on the tail, instead of the white and copper on the back side of the pec fin, the blue of the tail was the first thing that I would see.
Yeah. Yeah.
That blue, and that blue was like a neon. It was like the open sign at what somebody's shop. It was like flashing, like boop, boop, boop.
Right.
And you saw that blue, and holy cow! I mean, talk about a game changer. Now, almost all of the companies out there have that technology in their lenses, so it's hard to find a bad pair of glasses. Like now, I'm wearing the Bahios. It's hard to find a bad pair of glasses, but it is. You're right. If you can't see the fish, that's not good.
Well, right. And I learned the sunglass lesson in the lagoon too with the guy that had the whaler, because I was fishing cheap sunglasses, and he was out catching me 3 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I started complaining, and he said, "Here, put these on." And I threw on his Costas, and it opened up a whole new world.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get it now. I can see.
And you had back in the day, Ocean Waves came out with their Illuminator lens, which was a yellow based lens. Now Costa has Sunrise, Bahia has their yellow based lens. And they actually the Bahios put a purple tint on it, and that really enhances low light visibility for seeing contrast. RCI is a local company now that has some really good lenses as well. So there's glasses have come a long way, and they do in that type of a scenario. That's a game changer for you.
Yeah.
Absolute game changer.
And I'm just waiting for them to come out with a lens that'll let me look 70 feet down in the water and see all them snapper.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, that's one of the reasons I like my side scan and down scan.
Let me tell you, that side scan is a game changer.
Yeah,
It's almost cheating
I'm gonna have to step
at
up
times.
But how long did it take you to figure it out?
I still hadn't figured it all out. I mean, I've got it to where, like you said, if you're off a piece of bottom, I always have it on. And like you said, you'll mark a little something. I found some doors that from a shrimp boat in the river.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
and
that's gotta have something on it.
It does a lot of my lures. You got some paddle tails.
Got some paddle tails stuck in the
jerk
doors.
baits. It's got some stuff on it, but no, it's in the river. And like you said, the side scan shows you pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I went over the shipwreck at the Mindanao one time with the down scan on that Simrad. I mean, it shows the boat split in half. It's crazy and following the shrimp boats when you're shark fishing. It shows the net, the sharks, the dolphin. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're game changers.
Yeah.
And I found a new boat right by the 520 causeway that sunk under the water, and it's one of those, okay, I'm going to go back and fish this because for this time of the year, it's in the right depth for the sheephead and the black drum to be around it. But the 520 causeway there between Cocoa and Merritt Island, there's 7 or 8 boats that are washed up against the shoreline, sailboats washed up against the shoreline, derelict boats. But this is a smaller boat of some kind, and it's completely submerged in about 9 feet of water. And
got some little critters hanging out inside.
Well, what's interesting is I wasn't really paying much attention to that particular area until about 3 months ago, because I kept seeing these tarpon rolling around right in that area. And I'm like, you know how tarpon are. Tarpon are, they're just go with the wind. Whatever direction they feel like floating, they just swim in that direction. And these, for almost 2 weeks, these were kind of holding in this one area. Well, when I'm tarpon fishing, I turn my sounder off, okay? Because tarpon do not like the click of that sounder. So to enhance my bite, I turn my sounder off, so I wasn't seeing what was there. Well, it just so happened that I was just idling along, and I'm retying a knot. And, of course, the boat's kind of zigging and zagging because, I'm not – the wind's kind of pushing it a little bit, and I'm kind of readjusting, and the wind push. Well, as I'm just idling along I was going to go run up towards the 528 and fish up around on that shoreline up there. I see this boat, and I'm like, that's what they've been rolling around. So the thing that I was thinking was there must have been some glass minnows or some silver perch or something that were schooling around that structure that the tarpon had been feeding on, but because I had my sounder turned off, I never saw what the structure was. So, just kind of interesting that you can't see it if you don't have it turned on.
Yeah.
Right.
But in some cases, the species determines whether you got it turned on or not. So,
Yeah, that side scan is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? We haven't had a whole lot of time to talk about this time of the year and what's going on with the fishing because we've had a lot of callers today. But we've got some good stuff coming up. I mean, what are you going to be chasing here in the next month?
Well, chasing good weather.
Yeah.
is going to be the biggest thing I'm chasing. But still looking for those big lanes that are hanging around. Yeah.
How about triggerfish?
Yeah, I think the summertime is my best triggerfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, July, some grunt chunks. Yeah, that's been for me. I haven't found them in January.
Gotcha. Yeah. They have a tendency to leave.
Yeah.
Well, guys, man, I can't believe 2 hours has already gone by. It's
Gone
amazing
quick.
that we
Fun times.
just burned through 2 hours of time this morning. But we appreciate all the listeners out there tuning in and listening to the show. Adam, how does somebody get a hold of you if they want to go do some fishing?
MacDaddyCharters.com. Also on Facebook by the same name. And phone number is 386-747-6839.
All righty.
Love to hear
Captain
from you.
Mark, how do they get a hold of you, buddy?
NaughtyDiverCharters.net, Facebook, Captain Mark Gibson, or Naughty Diver Charters, Daytona Beach Fishing, 386-214-1477. We'll go out there and catch a memory.
That's right, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I appreciate both of you guys being in, making this a great show today. Hey, until next week out there in radio land and Facebook land, you guys and gals do exactly what we're all going to do. Get out there and catch yourselves a memory.